Take 6. Hey everyone, Aaron Stahl from Man Meat Barbecue. Hey, we're back and we're still playing with ribs. If you remember in our last video, I showed you how to go and pick out that perfect slab of ribs so that way you can get it back and get it trimmed. We went through that trimming process and here we have that beautiful slab of ribs, and we're gonna go ahead and show you how to inject this slab of ribs, get it seasoned up, and we're gonna get it on the smoker to create that perfect rib with that punch of flavor that we're always looking for. So first things first, we need a good injection. And when we were picking out the ribs, I talked about picking out a natural rib, nothing that has a brine or a solution to it. The reason for that, I want to control the flavor that's going in the rib. And I do that by using my own injection instead of that solution from the butcher. We've used a variety of different injections for our ribs, and I've got a few of those here with me today. The Blues Hog Pork Marinade, it's a brine, it's an injection, it's a soak. It's a great pork flavor. Has a lot of onion and garlic and salt and sugar, a lot of things that really just enhance pork. It is a great injection. We've also used the BPS pork prod. Some might say that pork prod has a different porkiness. It really brings that pork flavor out. These brines and injections, their job is to create and help you retain moisture and flavor in the meat. The butcher's barbecue pork injection does that very, very well. And it's a tried and true pork injection. And then the last one that I have here is the Lambert's Sweet Brinomine pork injection. A lot of people have won a lot of awards, a lot of championships using that one. It's a little bit different flavor to it than the others. It's got a little bit more sweetness, more of a fruity taste to help bring that pork flavor out. The other thing that we put in our injection, maple syrup. And this is just straight organic maple syrup. And you might be thinking, maple syrup in ribs. Well, think about breakfast. When you have pancakes and eggs and bacon, and you got your syrup coming over that pancake and getting onto your bacon, and you take that bite, that sweetness that spills onto that bacon mixed with the saltiness of it really makes that bacon pop. It's gonna do the same thing to your ribs. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that meat to pop with flavor. And the last thing that we have is water. And we use the Members Mark purified water. Whatever water you use, it's really important to make sure that you're using the same water every time. Tap water, different brands of water have different pH balances, and we just want to make sure we have some consistent checks in our injection. Now that you know what we use, the things that you can do with those, let's go ahead and get these ribs injected, and so we can get them seasoned up and all that stuff. First things first, we use a Vet Med syringe. They're cheap and they're easy. We don't worry about cleaning these because for 60 cents between the two, that just makes it too cheap to spend the time washing them. But it's a 60 milliliter Lure Lock syringe with a 14 gauge, 1.5 inch hypodermic needle. So let's go ahead and get this going. What we're gonna do when we inject, we'll fill our syringe. I like to get a full syringe down one side and another full syringe down the other. When I inject them upside down. And I'm gonna put these in between each bone. I'm gonna put it all the way in, and then I'm gonna just slowly push the syringe in and draw the needle back out. And you can get a feel for it as you're going through. The other thing that I didn't mention, before you inject, you want to pull your ribs and the injection out of your fridge, probably half hour or so prior to the injection. You want to let the meat fibers start opening up, so that way they're more prepped to accept the injection and help keep that in. Also be careful, you might get a few squirters in there, and I'm sure we will through this process. I'm gonna go ahead and get these injected, and then we'll move on to the rest of them, get them all injected and ready to go. So the reason we injected those upside down, when you look at these from the top, it's hard to see the bones. And so by having that visual of where those bones are, it really makes it easy as you go through and inject. Once I'm done injecting my 2 syringes full, I'll flip them over and make sure to see, do I have any uneven spots? You're gonna see, and I don't know if you can see that, but there's a lot of injection in there. The meat in between the bones actually blew up a little bit. And so if I see any low areas through that, I'm gonna just hit those areas with a little bit more injection just so that way I've got an even spread there. But these look good. Let's get on to the next one. All right, guys, let's go ahead and lay down some layer of flavor on these ribs. We're gonna use 4 different rubs today, and the primary rub that we're gonna use is our house blend that we make that's going to be available on our website if it's not already there, and in a barbecue store near you. If it's not, ask for it, you're gonna want it. It is the real deal. It is a Kansas City style rub. It's got sweetness, it's got spicy, it's got multiple peppers in here that create that mild, sweet, earthy, floral tones that you get from peppers, all in this bottle. All right, so let's go ahead and start laying down some flavor. First coat, we're just gonna do a light layer of the first rub. Do another light layer of our second rub. Again, we're just trying to build that experience for whoever eats these. We want them to take that bite, and we want them to be able to taste all of those ingredients. And our rub that we use here, we're gonna go a little heavier. We actually want this on pretty heavy. All right, this last rub, just gonna be a last little punch. Okay, there you have it. Now we're gonna let these rest, just gonna set up, and these ribs are gonna start sweating. You're gonna see this rub rehydrate and become a wet layer of rub. And we're gonna let these sweat on both sides for about 30 minutes each, give or take. The peppers and the spices in these rubs have been dehydrated, and the moisture from the ribs are going to help rehydrate the spices and bring them back to life. It's gonna help create that bark that you're looking for, and the spices are gonna help seal in the moisture in these ribs. All right, guys, we've got these ribs sweat. It's time to get them on our pit and start putting some smoke flavor. See if you have a sizzle. All right, guys, the ribs have been on the smoker for right about 2 hours. First, we put them bone side down, spun them every 15, 20 minutes or so for the first hour, flipped them over, did the exact same thing for another hour, and we pulled them off, and we have some beautiful color on these ribs. The meat was dancing. You'll hear that term often when talking about ribs or pork, brisket, whatever. And what you'll notice is that there's some bubbles coming up out of the meat. That's that moisture singing to us. Now what we're gonna do, get these things wrapped up, double wrap in foil, get them back on until they're done. So there's some of them will take 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. Haven't probed them, haven't temped them. I know they're not done, so we're just gonna go ahead and get these things wrapped up. The first thing that we put on them, our house-made, we call Tangy Tennessee. It is a tangy barbecue sauce, vinegar base, has a little bit of heat, a little spice in it, and we're just gonna hit it pretty good with that. The next step, some more of that maple syrup. We want the sweetness from the syrup here. Just gonna hit it, just a little bit of syrup there, and then some sugar in the raw, also known as turbinado sugar. And then we're gonna give this a half a stick of butter, just more fat. Fat is flavor. We're using real butter. This is salted challenge butter. And then we use a citrus soda. You can use any citrus soda really in your wrap. Just put a little bit in and then wrap it up. I'll bring those sides in, bring the other pieces up to it, and then roll it down, so that way when I go back out and check these, I can just unroll the top and open it up, not lose any of my juice, and hit it with the probe. So some people will poke through the foil. I choose not to. Just don't want to risk going all the way through, puncturing a hole in the bottom of my foil, or getting a piece of foil into meat. So let's get the rest of these wrapped up here. All right, we've got the ribs off the smoker. It's time to get these sauced up and finished, so that way we can get them cut up, presented, and into the judge. First things first, when we take them off, we want them to rest a little bit, 15, 30 minutes, something like that, with the juice still in the foil. We're gonna dump that juice off before we hit them with our finishing flavors. So we're gonna hit them with a little bit of ground up rub. Put some honey on the back. We're gonna brush that honey in just to get it all the way across, so that way every bite is gonna be just the same. And then hit it with our signature sauce. So this sauce goes on every one of our competition meats. It is sweet, it is smoky, it's got full flavor, and the judges seem to like it quite a bit. So flip it over. We're gonna do the same thing. Hit it with a little bit more rub. Get our honey, rub that in, and then finish it with some sauce. And we're gonna take these back out, set them on the smoker for 5 to 8 minutes, just to let that sauce tack up a little bit. You could also just since these are still really hot, you can let them just sit here for a few minutes, and this sauce is going to tack up onto that meat quite a bit. And then once we do that, we're gonna bring them back in, cut them up, and get them all presented. All right, guys, we got the sauce all set up, ready to go. These 3 slabs are looking fantastic. There's one slab in here, it's a little bit more narrow. Now all we have to do is find out which one or 2 have the perfect bite. To do that, we gotta start cutting these things up. So we've added all the flavor that we're going to. I always recommend cutting with the bottom side up, the bone side up. The reason for that is that now we can see the bones a lot more clear than we can from the top. First things first, remember this first bone, we always waste this one. So we're gonna cut as close to that bone as we possibly can using a sharp knife. Get that out of the way. Then the next bone is gonna be a taster. So we'll set that up there for taste. And you can feel how those are getting cut through. And we're gonna do that to all 3 slabs before we move on cutting all of these out. So again, waste one, taste one. So we're gonna set our 3 up. All right, so now we have our 3. With 1, 2, and 3, first things first, it's that first bite. You can see we've got some really good juiciness in that rib. So you squeeze that, and I'm not squeezing that very hard, and there's just juice pouring out of this rib. Both sides, just fantastic looking. You can see that smoke ring on top. The bark is looking great. So let's take a bite. Man, that's good. Had a good bite. You can see I left my teeth marks on that. Good flavor, right amount of salt, right amount of sweet, a little bit of heat. Time to do rib number 2. Very, very similar flavor as you might expect. A little bit more spice on that one than the first one. But overall, good bite, good tenderness, very similar flavor again, just a little bit more heat. And this last one, man, this last one, that is just juice. That is a juicy, juicy rib. I've got some high hopes for this one. So I mean, that looks fantastic. So let's get into this one. That right there, that is a perfect bite. The texture, still have the texture of the meat. There's no mushiness. You can still taste that that is pork. That is a winner. So I'm going with these two slabs. This last one, you could use it. It's a very serviceable rib, but now what we got to do is finish cutting these up so that way we can get our presentation exactly what we want. So since we're going with these two, let's go ahead and cut all the way across. Let's get this out of the way. And you can see that my bones are starting to come in here and angle a little bit. So there they are. They do kind of straighten back up back here. So these 4 or 5 bones through here, these are the ones that are going to go in the box. As I see that, I'm starting to visualize. See, this one here is going to be at an angle. So I'm going to put my knife on that bone, put it back here on this one, and then I'm just gonna kind of come in here and get a gauge for that. So I want to keep all of these bones about the same thickness, and then down here at the end, that one's not ever going to hit the box anyway. It's that end bone. We're going to move that off here. Go ahead and flip them over one by one. That way you know that you've cut all the way through every rib. You don't have any hanging on to the next one. All right, these ones are really straight, nice and thick. As I'm cutting these, we've cut enough ribs to know exactly what the tenderness is. These are cutting through very, very, very nicely. If I'm turning these in, I want the ribs that pop out with the right color. These ones here, definitely gonna go in the box. Probably not gonna use that one. I've got 6 there. This one, although that's really juicy, and here's the thing, I cut through the piece of the bone, just making sure that is, so that's from the other bone. If you do that, it's okay to go ahead and just pull that out of there. You don't want to judge to bite into that with that bone there. But those 5 look like they could be good. That bone's popping out a little bit. And then I'm just gonna measure these up. I'm gonna use 10 out of here. We may just do it just like that. And there you have 10 bones ready to go to the judges. And those are the same width all the way across every bone. The cuts are right on top of each other. I'm biased, but I'm gonna give that a 9. And these would do well at a contest. 9 times out of 10, we're gonna be really happy with our score. So there you go. 10 bones going in that box. They look beautiful. The judges are gonna love it. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell, because we're bringing you tips, techniques, and recipes that are gonna elevate your game and make you championship barbecuers.